Hello everyone and welcome to your Saturn placement. After doing Jupiter, I really wanted to get to this one, but of course, just takes time, like the lesson of Saturn. As someone who's kind of an optimist, I guess I would call myself, and I like to believe in the positive things and I kind of love Disneyland. The serious nature of Saturn was probably the last planet that I really delved into. But there's so much to learn here. Saturn is the realist. It's here to teach you that lifelong lesson. So welcome, my fellow masochists. You have made it to the harshness of reality. I'll make it as pleasant as possible. If you want some feel-good vibes, stop now and watch the Jupiter videos. Just kidding. Saturn is called malefic because it's a place of hardship. Hardships are not random. They're not just the gods laughing at us, or maybe they are. But they are there to teach us a lesson. All of these lessons throughout all of these years, over time, the long haul of Saturn will teach us mastery. So what started as one of your greatest weaknesses will become one of your greatest strengths. When I did the Jupiter videos, one of the comments was that since I presented Jupiter as a superpower, I should present Saturn as Kryptonite. I thought that was such a great idea. Now, I don't know much about the Superman comics, but I do know enough to know what Kryptonite is. If Superman, over time, builds up his immunity to Kryptonite, then that is exactly what Saturn is all about. I also got some criticism for having so much about the actual planet and not as much about the specific traits of your placement. So I'm going to put more in there. But to know about the planet itself is important because it teaches you what's the difference between having a Saturn in Scorpio versus a Saturn ascendant. And when I was first learning about astrology, that was probably the thing that confused me the most. So that is why I spend so much time. Saturn is the slow burn. It's the delayed effect. Usually this area is something that we care so much about, but it seems so unobtainable. And then when we finally get there, we will look back and say it's really worth the journey. This is an area that's going to require dedication, patience, and time. You might feel like your father figure, or God isn't bringing you anything in this area. Like you put so much effort and then it's just not rewarded like Jupiter is. You have to do all of the work, and it's true. There are no spiritual guides or beings that are going to give you that extra boost in this area. This is good old-fashioned blood, sweat, and tears. It's an area that has to be aged like a fine wine. There's also often a lot of shame, which is a huge obstacle. There's this inner voice, you shouldn't do this. Push and pull of something you want, but something you feel is shameful. And for some people, Saturn is mostly about getting past that kind of shame in that area. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. So let's get into your Saturn placements. Saturn in Libra. The mantra that I want you all to repeat to yourself is, I will seek balance in every relationship and be honest about my needs and the needs of others, and not ignore these needs no matter how much I care about my partner. So Saturn is exalted in Libra, which means it is a great position to have, one of the very best. You are someone who has very good karmic energy because your goal in all of your long life pursuits don't stem around from competition or being better than someone. Deep down, you truly don't care about that stuff. Actually, you prefer for a feeling of teamwork, a feeling of balance. Hence why this is a good position to have. It's just a good mindset. It's natural for you to constantly check in with your partners, whether it's at work or in a relationship, and to try to get into their mindset and where they're at. Possibly so much so that you're ignoring your own needs. Which is why typically if you have Saturn in Libra, or especially if you have Saturn in the 7th house, it's recommended that you don't get married or get into any serious partnerships until your late 20s, probably early 30s, because these things will fail. Now maybe they will fail and teach you great lessons. They probably will. But the thing about it is a partnership doesn't work unless it's balanced. And as much as you want to sacrifice, both people have to commit to make it work. So if you have a divorce or two under your belt, or a partnership that blew up, you're in great company. Welcome. And if you did get married in your 20s and you're happily married, then you've done the impossible. This position is somebody who's hardy, someone who's not willing to give up too easily, someone who's usually an optimist about life, feels genuinely that they believe in karma, the give and take of life, that if I'm nice to you, then you'll be nice to me. There's a feeling with Saturn in Libra that if I win, you win, and if you win, I win. And there's serious benefits to seeing life that way, but if you are with a selfish person, things are not going to work out. You won't be able to see what's going on, but you really do need to be with a partner who's on your level. You are someone who has the gift of flexibility and endurance. Like, oh, you want me to do things that way? Sure, let's try that. Someone who's not as stubborn about sticking to, well, this is the way I want to do it. This is what my plan is. You really do include the important people in your lifelong decisions. Early on, people might actually see you as very non-committal. Flighty even, and it will be misunderstood until later. With this position, you can sometimes attract very narcissistic people, and so hence some of the flightiness, because you have to. When you're such a giving soul, you can definitely attract some people that want to take advantage of that. It might seem really painful that the one thing that you want is just that partner, that teamwork, that camaraderie, and it seems like the one thing you can't have. But you will get there. You will have that true partner, someone you can share everything with. Having a relationship where it's two people fighting, a partnership, and they just stay together, this is not what a Saturn in Libra wants, and they probably will have to let go of anything that takes them in that direction. Relationships are a huge part of your life and what you're after. When one falls apart could be an extremely important moment of learning for you. In the biggest long-term projects or endeavors, you're probably always going to have a partner of some sort. Early on, these partnerships might cause you nothing but pain, and later in life, they will be some of the greatest joy of your life. When you were younger, maybe you were trying to control the relationship, maybe you were naive, maybe you expected too much, maybe you expected too little. Libras do like fantasy, and they are also can be very giving, but it's all about the balance here. Not too much and not too little. This makes for the perfect partnership. It is gut-wrenching for a Libra, the moment where they have to tell their partner, you're taking advantage of me. But when those moments come, you really have to express yourself and tell the truth. And yes, of course, it would be great if those people that you love just naturally knew what you needed and noticed right away what was wrong. But that's just not always reality. And it's scary because it's that moment of, if I tell them and they push me away, then that could be the end is near for that partnership. But if they care about what you're needing and they actually listen and they actually realize you're not trying to be selfish, you're just trying to create equality, you're trying to create balance, then they are someone that is worth keeping. This also goes for your job, asking for raises or asking for the correct office supplies or whatever it is. And in order for it to work, there has to be a give and take. You probably take on relationships with people that are difficult or different, especially earlier. Something to remind yourself of when you're just doing everything to make something work is, wait a second, am I giving up myself? Because if so, it's not a relationship. You cannot have a relationship if the two people are not actually being themselves. So you really have to be real, even if it can hurt the people you care about. You're probably the type of person that always wants to stay friends with partners and exes when things don't work out. But that other person might not be at that same level of, isn't it great? We learned some life lessons. And not everybody thinks that way. Some people just, once something is not working, they want to blame. So you might not be able to be friends with exes even if you really want to. In addition to working with partners in career and all of your long-term goals, you might also work in fields that are Libra-like, like the arts, counseling, psychology, beauty, aesthetic, and design. You like things to be fair, you like life to be fair, and you often will go to bat for causes and people that you believe are not being treated fairly, even if it might actually hurt your life in some way. You take those risks because you do believe that ultimately the karma will come back to you, and it will. In this life, you're going to learn a lot about people, teamwork, communication, beauty, art. You're going to learn a lot about balance. And one of your biggest goals in life is to find that balance, even to find that balance between work life and personal life. You're very likely to be rewarded in terms of wealth or status because of this positive karma, because people will see you as someone who's not competitive, who's somebody who genuinely wants the success of others, and it's something that draws people to you. It draws just good energy towards you. People will have a lot of respect for the fact that you respect others. You will, because of your kindness, sometimes have people using you. So it's that lesson to learn that sometimes you just have to walk away and work with other people. Even if you have an enemy, it's really hard for a Saturn in Libra to think of people as enemies. You probably are more likely to just feel sorry for them, that they can't think more like you think. But having an enemy is awkward, to say the least. It's hard for a Libra to focus when their environment is very selfish and dark and too competitive. So I would also recommend to leave any environment or any people you're working with that just take things too dark. You need a positive teamwork atmosphere. Selfishness, ugliness, rudeness, this is your Achilles heel, and this is something that just does not mesh well. It's different if somebody's just trying to be honest versus if they are just in a negative cycle. Be aware of living for someone else, thinking, well, if their hopes and dreams come true, then that's enough, right? Also, Saturn in Libra can love someone so much that all of the Saturn in Libra's long-term goals are actually not their own. They are their partner's goals. So make sure to watch out for that. Eventually, you're going to have to be yourself. So better find it out sooner than later. Pursue your own goals. It's not enough to just pursue your partner's goals. And last note for Saturn in Libra is make sure to value yourself enough. When you're balancing the scales, you're probably always giving someone else a little more. So make sure to balance it. I hope you guys enjoyed my take on Saturn in Libra, and come back for the next video.